Private landlords would not be able to increase annual rents by more than inflation for 3 years under Labour plans to give tenants more security. If Labour form the next government, Ed Miliband said he would act immediately to curb massive rent hikes which have forced some people out of their homes. New tenants would be given the right to find out what their predecessors paid to help them negotiate the best deal. Critics have warned that capping rents could reduce investment in new housing. As the last full week of campaigning before the May 7 election gets underway, the latest opinion poll from Survation has given the Conservatives a 4-point lead over Labour, putting the two parties on 33% and 29% respectively. A separate poll from Opinium has the Conservative lead over Labour narrowing to 1%. Housing is a key election battleground, with all the major parties promising to build hundreds of thousands of new homes over the next 5 years to address what campaigners say is a chronic shortage of new housing stock. Generation rent. On Sunday, Mr. Miliband will set out Labour's policies for helping generation rent, the millions of people who the opposition say have been priced out of the housing market in recent years and are trapped in short-term, often insecure rental agreements. Labour have already announced plans to extend the typical tenancy agreement from a year or less to 3 years following a probationary period of 6 months. Estate agents will also be banned from requiring fees from tenants before they move in. But the Labour leader said he wanted to do more to stop the estimated 4.5 million households renting privately from being ripped off. He is pledging to cap rents during the course of the standard 3-year tenancies so they cannot rise by more than the CPI measure of inflation, which is currently 0%, while allowing flexibility for them to be reduced. While market rates will still apply at the start of a contract, tenants will have a legal right to know what the previous tenant paid, which Labour says will put them in a stronger position to negotiate and make substantial rent rises between contracts less likely. Labour says 3-year tenancy agreements should become the norm, with landlords having to give 2 months' notice before asking a tenant to leave and only if they have a good reason to do so. The rent cap would not apply to those who have agreed shorter contracts with their landlords, such as students or business people needing flexibility. The party claims rents are, on average, £1,200 higher than they were in 2010, with some tenants in London facing double-digit rises in a single year. The UK rental market is far less regulated than its European counterparts, Labour argues, with one shadow minister recently comparing the London market to the Wild West. Decent deal. Confirming that Labour would legislate for the changes in their first Queen's speech, Ed Miliband said action was needed to help those struggling to meet the costs of putting a roof over their head. Some are having to move all the time, ripping up the roots they have laid down at work or with friends, even having to change their kids' schools, he said. Labour has a better plan. The security of 3-year tenancies for all who want them with rents capped, so they can fall but not rise by more than inflation. The rights they need to negotiate a decent deal with landlords and stop rip-off letting fees. Labour is also warning rogue landlords that they face losing tax relief enabling them to offset 10% of their annual rental income against falls in the value of furniture and appliances. If properties are not adequately maintained, Mr. Miliband said landlords would not be able to claim all of the so-called wear and tear allowance, arguing they should not be subsidized for providing accommodation that fails to meet basic standards. He added, "This is a plan for a stable, decent, prosperous private rental market where landlords and tenants can succeed together." The BBC's Ian Watson said both the British Property Federation and the Association of Residential Letting Agents had warned that rent controls could reduce investment in the supply of new rented housing. The Conservatives have placed increased home ownership at the heart of their housing plans, pledging to extend the Help to Buy scheme to 2020 and extend the Right to Buy scheme to up to 1.3 million tenants of housing associations. Under their plans, housing association tenants would get the same discounts to buy their homes as council tenants currently enjoy. The Liberal Democrats are promising young people still living with their parents alone to help pay for a deposit on a rented home of their own.